Ah, the French champagne.
The whole action sequence reminded me, honestly, of like my cousin and I used to make stop motion Lego films when we were young.
Oh, that's
like
so lame.
little like
Yeah,
it's fucking dumb. But I like watching that. I was like, oh, I know how they set this shot up because I was 6 once and I had a camera. Yeah.
So you're saying this movie was made by like 6 and 7-year-olds?
I'm saying I, at the
Half
age
of
of
the
6,
movie.
had the technology in my
Right.
living room that it took a studio of artists to do in this film.
Right. That doesn't make sense. That's how technology does work, is that eventually 6-year-olds get the technology that like the best filmmakers had.
Yeah, and now we all carry it around in our fucking pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All these
no
movies
kidding.
made on iPhones and stuff.
What I thought was funny was looking at the opening credits and seeing that the entire movie was made with like 12 people. And then you compare it to like the Peter Jackson credits where it's like 300 people to do the same story.
Oh yeah. Way more than that. It's like thousands and thousands of people. Yeah, because it's like a few choice animators just like going through and like artists making these molds and then putting together the stop motion. Like you don't need thousands of people doing like 30 seconds of CGI.
I like when they offered to sell her.
No, they didn't.
No,
they refused the offer.
They rejected the offer to sell her.
Yeah.
When the chief was like, I'll trade you 5 of my women for that one.
Yeah.
It was very convenient. He was like, and then they walked away. He tipped his hat and whistled like Gene Kelly as they walked away. There's so many weird things in this movie.
His hat did look pretty cool though when he did that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sure. I saw that and I was like, I'm gonna pull that off one day.
You got to sport it next week.
Yeah. Do it.
My dream to own a hat like that.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones hat.
I'm trying to like think what this movie was. It kind of has 3 weird acts. Like, there's like the journey to the jungle. There's the jungle, and the jungle is like truly a shift to like mayhem.
It's the jungle part was fascinating.
It was fascinating.
I was
watch.
gripped because no one was saying terrible lines, and even though the animation was rough by our standards, it was still fascinating to see how they put it all together.
Yeah, and like. And then it cuts to the city, right? And then it goes from like jungle to city, like almost like on a dime. Like it's actually quite a hard shift. Whereas the shift from the city to the island is quite cool. One of my favorite scenes is them arriving in the fog. Probably my favorite scene actually in the whole thing was them arriving in the fog. And there was this really great kind of tense, kind of nervous music that was playing. And they had the sailor who was dropping the plumb line down to check to see how much the land was rising underneath the water, so they knew they were getting closer to land. And as they were describing, like talking about what they might find there and preparing for it and stuff, and I was like, this is a good scene.
The first one so far.
The first one so far. The first scene of the actual movie is atrocious. I'm just
oh my god! It's
5
like
men meet in a room and are like, well, I need a broad. So you like broads, eh? Like.
I wrote that this was like a second-year theater school scene study that I was watching for that scene.
It was rough. And Sean, can you or Dan or anyone else clarify what? So Denham, who wants to make this film, right? He knows that there's something interesting on the island. He's acquired it through these crazy circumstances.
A Norwegian ship, the survivor of a Norwegian ship saw the island.
2 perfect maps.
Yes, and brought those maps and sold them in Singapore to Carl Denham when he was last there.
Yeah. So, but he doesn't know that King Kong is there. He just knows that something is there.
He does know that because he
knows something.
He talks about
Kong.
He does.
He
Yeah,
talks about Kong ahead of time. He's like, "Have you guys heard of Kong?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's some native myth or something, isn't it?" And he's like, "Well, it's there." Or something.
You are acting it better than he did. So,
but I think he says something more along the lines of that, like there must be some truth in it, or like there's.
Because the ship went down, that Norwegian ship disappeared, and he's like, that guy was the last sailor of it. Yeah,
it's just like it's a flimsy premise, but it's hard to. Maybe they're trying to be sneaky about it. Like maybe he heard more than he actually was telling people, because he's clearly hiding things, right? Like he's not telling the crew.
That's what those gas bombs are for.
Yeah.
And that's in that scene, he delivers that line and then turns around and walks through the door, and he full on stops in the door because he thinks the shot is done, and just before they cut away. And then the next scene is him with the camera filming her for the test. And I thought, like, oh, that's sloppy. He stopped in the door, and now the camera's in shot. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. They were doing their best.
Yeah.
So that's all I can really think about in terms of the story of King Kong. They go there, they push through this tribe to get access to the jungle. They're overwhelmed in the jungle.
Mm-hmm. Women aren't people.
Women aren't
King Kong
people.
likes the white woman because she's the beauty, which also they kept saying too much.
Was beauty killed the beast.
Yeah, twas beauty. There's your angle, boys.
What a way to butcher a good final line of your film.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
I bet in the 30s that line fucking killed. I bet people were quoting that for fucking months.
I know it just because I've never seen this film before, but I knew that's how this film ended. I didn't realize it was ended by that bad of an actor.
I mean, it's weird when Jack Black said it better.
Yeah, right.
Jack Black is a good actor. I will not let you say anything different.
Sure.
I mean, he's kind of a bad actor. That's why he's amazing.
He's made a career of like shitty roles somehow and being over the top. But I rewatched, I know this is not in any way relevant to what we're talking about, but I rewatched Jumanji recently, and he's like the star of that fucking movie. And not because he's the new one. No, the Robin Williams one. He's one of the elephants.
I don't know, he pops up in 90s films.
He does. Anyways, I like Jack Black. Jack Black, if you're listening, big fan. You're
come on the show with Carrie.
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah, Jack Black. If you know Carrie Elways,
you can
send him. You stay home.
Please pass it along. I mean, Jack Black has much better chance of coming on the show.
Yeah,
we should get Jack Black on the show too. Jack, if you're out there, we love you, buddy.
If anyone famous wants to come on the show, I mean, open
Let's
invitation.
not say that. There's a lot of famous people I would not care to talk to.
Yeah.
True. I will say that I was legitimately moved twice, I think, in this film. The first time was when they just slaughtered that Stegosaurus because it was in their way. And the second time was at the end before he picks her up to have one last creepy stare at her and before falling off the building and dying. I was like, oh, he didn't want to be here. Poor Kong. He wants to be back in the jungle. And then he's a pervert. And I was like, oh, okay.
He wasn't a pervert. He's a fucking animal. What do you want, man? He's being as gentle as he possibly can.
Yeah.
So that's pretty clear. What's the end like moral of MVP though?
That chimps can do anything they put their minds to.
It's like the opposite moral. It's like they're better off in the city. Yeah. They get jobs here. Like, were they paying the chimp to be on the hockey team? Did he have a contract?
I doubt it.
He must have, yeah.
I guess he would have. I liked how nonchalant the other players were, and like, hey, Jack, you want to go out after the game? And he's just playing poker. No, he's playing Go Fish with poker chips.
Yeah, when they really reinforced that, it's like I was like, oh right, it's a kids movie. This movie is for kids.
When the guy goes on a milkshake bender, and then all the hockey players are playing Go Fish,
with poker
and drinking
chips.
like apple juice.
The hockey players stay at the arena after the game is done.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was going to say, I think the moral is more along the lines of if you run away from your orphanage and befriend a stranger, you'll eventually find a new home as long as you break all the rules.
Yep.
Agreed. You will eventually get the other half of Home Improvement.
Yeah.
To be your dad.
We'll get to that, yeah.
I will say, I know where you're going, Sean. I will say I was very sad to see him in this movie.
Yes.
Knowing that he came out of like a pretty good career at Home Improvement, and that I had to just assume that he was in a much worse off place having to do a movie like this. Yeah.
He's in Pen 15. He's quite good in Pen 15. Only in a few episodes, but he's good.
Pen 15.
I'm glad that he's back on his feet.
Yeah. A great show. Citizen Kane versus recommends Pen 15. Our first recommendation.
What?
I mean, Jack and I don't know what that show is, but we'll have to take your word for it, I guess.
Pen 15 is penis.
It's also a TV show. Yeah.
If you say so.
Yeah.
Well, on that.
That's the end of round one.
End of round here.
Penis.
Here.
Penis.
So,
Fuck you, Sean.
the Citizen Kane of the week is